Everyone, how are you? Good to see you all. Just gonna wait for you to start coming in and then we will begin. Want to talk about how to be prepared prophetically for 2023. Hey everyone. Hello, how are you? Just gonna wait for you to invite your people in. Get the link out. Good morning, pastor. I've never been accused of being a pastor before, but I receive it graciously. Thank you for the compliment. Blessings. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Welcome, everybody. All right. Blessings from Bermuda. Avoid the triangle. Yasmin, God bless. Jasmine, God bless you, sweetheart. Okay, so I want to talk to you about how to be prepared for the year 2023 and what it has to bring. And then I'm going to upload this later on to our YouTube channel so that you can get a glimpse of it. But guys, hit the share button if you can. Put it in your friend links and whoever's you know, aunties, uncles. I want to speak about prophetic preparation for 2023. What are some of the things the Lord saying? Well, let's begin. December is actually going to be a very crucial month. And what you do with the remaining days of December determines what the Lord does next. All blessings, Dr. Hugh. God bless you, sir. What you do with the month of December actually determines what God does from January to the end of the year. And that's why I've been talking about using your December well. We've already spoken about giving God praise this month of December as you're heading into the new year. But 2023 is going to be a crucial year to not be distracted. Many distractions are going to come. And I believe the greatest distractions are going to show up in the form of good things. You know, what is a distraction? A distraction is preoccupation with a good or bad thing that does not progress towards your ultimate goal. Distraction is a preoccupation with a good or a bad thing that does not progress towards your ultimate goal. And so I don't want to sound too teachy. I want to speak a little bit more strategic. But some of us are going to have to get past some of our distractions. Now, let me give you some good common sense things to do. If you can get a piece of paper and a pen and just write out some of the things that you feel are urgencies, things that need to be done, and then write down some of the things that are emergencies, because urgencies are always replaced by emergencies. Maybe a family member needs somewhere to stay, or a friend is ill in hospital, or any of those good things. And you're going to realize that distraction is preoccupation, not just with a bad thing, but a good thing that does not progress towards your ultimate goal. And so we're going to have to watch out in 2023 from some really, really good things. And I want to give you some scripture as some precedent for that. We take our Bibles to the book of Matthew. Chapter 15, Matthew chapter 15, verse 21. It says, "And Jesus went out from there and departed to the region of Tyre and Sidon, and behold, a woman of Canaan came from that region and cried out to him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely demon-possessed." Verse 23, "But he answered her not a word." This is what I mean by emergencies. I believe 2023 is going to be a huge year of some really, really good distractions. The enemy is going to send some of the best things. You know, somebody's ill, somebody's gone through a divorce, somebody doesn't want to live by themselves. And it's going to be determined by your capacity to say no, to deal with some of those things. And I want to tell you, no is a full sentence. You're going to have to push past some of the things that are emergencies. And catch yourself in this trap. The trap of I have to. I have to go and help that person. I have to go and see this person. If I don't do it, who's going to do it? If I don't take care of it, who's going to take care of it? I'm speaking predominantly to those of you who suffer from being an empath. You know, empaths are people who have huge amounts of emotional investment in everybody. You know, not just their relatives and family members. They can tend to feel the emotions of people in a room. They can feel somebody sad. They can feel somebody's happy. They can feel somebody's up. They can feel somebody's down. And if you're not careful, empaths find themselves in a place of false responsibility. And what's going to happen is you're going to find yourself steered off the end of your year course if you do not determine that you are going to shut down deliberately that part of you that is moving and veering off course and off direction. You see, Jesus ignored a very positive thing. In fact, if he was alive today, many of us would have looked at Jesus and would have said, I'm going to post this preacher on Instagram. I'm going to tweet about this preacher. I can imagine some of your headline clickbait tweets. Prominent Jewish rabbi ignores the plight of a helpless mother with demon-possessed child. And not just that, to add injury to insult, the Bible says his disciples came and urged him, saying, send her away, for she cries out after us. Well, first of all, they weren't crying out after them. They were crying out after Jesus. But these disciples now become security guards, pushing this woman out like she's nothing. But Jesus answered and said, I was not sent except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. It sounds so kind of psychopathic to shut off a huge element of who you are as an empathetic person or a person who feels the needs of other people, to not turn and look at this woman's plight and say, I need to help her. I need to help him. But if you're going to succeed in the year we're coming into, you're going to have to determine in the month of December, you're going to have to determine your focus. I want you to write this down on a piece of paper. What is my focus? Not my New Year's resolution. I hear you. You're going to lose weight this year. This is the year you're going to drop pounds and all of that good stuff. That's not what we're talking about. What is my focus coming into the year 2023? And I actually want to give you a focus. I want to give you something that you need to focus on in 2023. So I'm gonna actually force your hand a little bit and tell you what I believe you should focus on and why am I the one that's going to tell you to do it. And those of you who don't do it, God bless you. But those of you who do it, God literally bless you. So look what he says here. He ignored her and he answered. He didn't answer her. He answered his disciples, saying, I was not sent except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then she came and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. So now she's worshiping him. She goes from begging to worshiping. Again, Jesus said, it is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs. And we all know how the story ends. She said, even the little dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table. And the Bible says, "O woman, great is your faith. Let it be done as you desire." And her daughter was healed at that very hour. So a shift begins to take place at that very hour. A turnaround begins to take place at that very hour. Why? Because this woman determined that she was going to press in for something that didn't belong to her. But notice, Jesus never turned to her. Jesus never got distracted by an emergency. She was dealing with an emergency, and she was trying to make her emergency his emergency. She was appealing to his sentiment. She was appealing to who he was as a rabbi. She even began to worship him. But Jesus looked and said, "I cannot give what belongs to the children. I can't then take it and throw it away to the dogs." So here's your first clue. For 2023, you're going to have to learn to ignore things that are not part of your assignment, that do not progress towards your ultimate goal in life. And for some of you, that is going to be uniquely difficult, almost impossible, because you have somehow attached empathy with Christianity. And of course we sympathize. Of course we have compassion. Of course we are not called to be cold, but we are called to be focused. Do not let anything take you off of the course. Do not let anything veer you out of the direction that the Lord is trying to take you into. And so here it is. Write this down. In 2023, you are going to have to determine what you are called to ignore. In 2023, you are going to have to determine what you are called to ignore. You have to determine what you're going to say no to. You're going to have to determine, listen, some of you are going to have to determine what money you're going to say no to. Some of you are going to have to determine what job opportunities you're going to say no to. Some of you in acting are going to have to determine what scripts are you going to say no to. You're going to have to determine a strong capacity to tell people no. Absolutely, blessed, favored one got it, so that you can be about your Father's business. Discover what your Father's business is and be quick to recover whatever it is that God has called you to, and find that very quickly. So determine for 2023, as my first point, what you are called to ignore. Second thing I'm going to say for 2023, if you're going to be prepared for it, determine your company. Do not make friends. Choose friends. Some of you are going to have to fire your friends if you are going to come into 2023 strong. Some of you are going to have to get rid of some people. And what do I mean by this? You're going to have to walk on purpose with people who are on their purpose. Let me say it again. You're going to have to walk on purpose with people who are on purpose. Listen, some of you have been told by God to write this book this year, write this song this year, or even read this book this year. You are never going to read a book unless you're part of a reading group. You're never going to write a book unless you're part of a writing group. You're never going to write a song unless you're a part of a writing group. You're never going to be a prophet unless you're a part of a prophetic group. So that you have to find, yes, I love this word. Thank you for helping me preach. You have to find purpose partners. And some of you have to realize your purpose partners don't live next door to you. Your purpose partners don't live down the road from you. Your truest purpose partner is not going to be your skin color. And I know the enemy has hyper-inflated race in 2020 to 2022, and it's been part of a divine strategy to forge us back into a space of herd mentality, where we are associating with people like us. And whether you know it or not, the blind cannot lead the blind. Now, if I can give you 2 or 3 illustrations of that, the first illustration I'll give you is Mary. When you're pregnant with something, and God's going to impregnate you. When you're pregnant with something, you're pregnant with destiny, you're pregnant with purpose, you're pregnant with dreams, goals, and desires. All of these things live on the inside of you. Or you're pregnant with Jesus. The thing is, you can't explain to people what's inside of you. When you have a baby, unless you do a sonogram, you cannot tell what the gender of your baby is going to be. So there's nothing more frustrating to prophetic people than people coming to you and telling you, what are you doing this year? Because you are taking the unconventional road. Some of you left university midway through the year. Some of you dropped out of school. Some of you left your parents' house early. Some of you no longer live in the place you're living. Some of you aren't doing what your parents told you to do. You've kind of dropped off the bandwagon of the convention of your family tree. And your family tree is now saying, well, what are you doing with your life? What is God, what is that? What's God told you to do? What's your purpose now? And you're like, I don't actually know, but I'll tell you when I get there. And they're looking at you kind of like, but you're broke, you're unmarried, and you're disenfranchised. Come on, you've been doing this now for 3 years and there's no fruit to show for it. Well, can I tell you how to accelerate and bring you into an accelerated time? And it's getting into the right company. Some of you have got to stop grieving what God is no longer grieving. God said to Samuel, pep talk, son, how long will you grieve over Saul, seeing as I've rejected him? How long are you going to continue to grieve the things that have left you, the boyfriends that weren't the one that you thought were the one, the husband or wife that you thought was the one, but something broke apart and fell apart, the dream job that you thought was the dream job? How long are you going to grieve it? Because your grieving is hindering your going. And so you're going to have to put down your regret. And I'm speaking to a group of people who live in a mirror. And let me describe how you're feeling. You're living on the other side of the mirror and you're watching a parallel dimension of yourself coasting through life, living a dimension of life that you didn't ask for. And you're watching that dimension of yourself live life and go through motions, and you're almost staring at them like an out-of-body experience, and you're not feeling the ground under your feet anymore. You're not feeling the surroundings around you anymore. You're not feeling grateful for anything because your expectation has not been met in the dimension you believe you're living in. You feel like you're living in a parallel world. Well, can I tell you something? You will never have what you want until you want what you have. It's time to jump out of that side of the mirror and jump into the reality that you presently find yourself in. You will never be able to change what's gone. Moses, my servant is dead, was the first pep talk of Joshua's assignment and calling. Some of you have grieved past the grief date. And now you have to slap yourself into reality. The Bible calls it awake, awake. Get up. Put on your beautiful garments. You are now living in the dimension of his lordship. You are now living in the dimension of the rightful owner that took possession of your life and shifted you into a life that he deemed fit for you because he is Lord. And the moment you accepted him as Lord at the altar was not really the moment. This is the moment where you finally realize the exercise of his lordship. And that means you got to come out of regret. You got to break free of what could have been. You've got to stop living in that. Do you know why? Because that's called vain imaginations. You're sitting down pondering, what would have happened if my child lived? What would have happened if I married that person instead of this person? What would have happened if I had this job instead of this job? What would have happened if I was here instead of here? Stop grieving what has been, and you're going to come into an appreciation of what is right now. You are wasting your valuable time grieving things that will never change. So allow me to give you a wonderful, loving pep talk and tell you it's time to come out. It's time to be set free. It's time to move into the place called present not yesterday, and certainly not tomorrow. Tomorrow will worry about itself. Your dimension of life is today. God is not a past help in time of need. He's not a future help in time of need. He's a present help in time of need. And the problem is he's present and you're absent. And so be present in the moment. Live in the day, or as the old idiom goes, carpe diem, seize the day. And you're going to discover that there's something that's waiting on the other side of you. Now, what does it mean? You're pregnant with Jesus now. The problem is being pregnant with Jesus doesn't change your life, it transforms your life. When Christ enters you, he doesn't change you, he transforms you. This is why some of your friends don't like you anymore, because they can no longer pull you into the very things that you used to do. They can no longer pull you into the club. They can no longer pull you in to sin. They can no longer pull you in to the lifestyle that you were living before that made them comfortable with the maintenance of their Christian life, because you've finally taken God seriously. And they're like, yeah, we all love God and club. We all love God and do drugs. We all love God and smoke weed. Why are you now shifting out of that and into a different lifestyle? Because the difference is they accepted Jesus. You received him. And when you receive him, you conceive him. The Bible calls him Christ in you, the hope of glory. He begins to sit on the inside of you like a living hope. And that witness begins to convict you of sin. That witness begins to tell you things that you can't do that everybody else can do. And so now you're in this place. Let me be quick and say this because I've got to move on to my next point. Now you're in this place. What do? You're pregnant with Jesus. You haven't felt the baby kick for a long time. You haven't felt the dream live for a long time. You haven't felt the call in you for a long time. You've got to find Elizabeth. And the problem is Elizabeth is older than you. Elizabeth doesn't listen to the same music you listen to. Elizabeth may not even be from where you're from. Elizabeth may not even be your class. But when you get around Elizabeth, the thing in you begins to respond to the thing in her. This is what I mean by find your purpose partners. You'll never find your purpose partners until you delete and get rid of your vain partners. You'll never find your purpose partners until you deliberately decide and choose to walk away from even good people. Some of the people I'm telling you to fire are actually good people. And they're going to wonder, why haven't you called me in a couple of years? It's because my dream doesn't kick when I'm around you. All I want to do when I'm around you is watch Netflix. All I want to do when I'm around you is do drugs. All I want to do when I'm around you is drink wine till I'm drunk at 2 a.m. in the morning talking about how all men are the same. No, you got to get rid of those people. You got to move away from those people. You got to deliberately decide that I'm not going to make friends in 2023. I'm going to choose them. I'm going to choose my covenant partners based on the thing that God has told me to do. I promise you, for everything God has told you to do with your life, there is somebody else but they may not even be in your vicinity that God has told to do the same thing. And social media is like the accelerant. It pours gasoline on the fire, brings all these people from our past back into our present, and then we end up in a segue again, dating the ex-boyfriend that hurt us the last time, hoping this time it will be different. Listen, you got to delete, block, and move on in that order. Delete, block, and move on in that order. Don't even say goodbye, because some of you are getting hooked on the goodbye. Some of you have been saying goodbye for a year. Some of you have been saying goodbye for 2 years. Some of you have been saying goodbye for 3 years, and you're never going to move into the new dimension of company if you're still on the old one. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, bad company corrupts good character, but good company corrects bad character. And so when I can shift my company, when I can move to accommodate someone else then all of a sudden I begin to come into the realization of what God is building on the inside of me. Matthew 25 says this: Kingdom of heaven shall be likened unto 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. Now 5 of them were wise and 5 of them were foolish. And I know this is not what this is about. I know this isn't about marriage, but it's very analogous, actually. Who gets the bridegroom? Who actually gets married? For those of you like, well, I'm believing God, I'm going to get married. Well, who actually gets married? I'll tell you who gets married. It's the people who are prepared to get married that get married. It's the people who live their daily life as if the bridegroom could come at any moment. I know this isn't what this is about, but I'm just segueing here. That actually get married. You see, you can't live a life of lapsadaisy and just whenever he shows up, I'll decide to wake up and put my makeup on, look good, go get some cooking lessons, go get some treat husband. No. There's got to be a wife found, not a wife made in marriage. We can't bring you to the altar and alter you. And vice versa for men as well. I hope you understand. But the Bible says 5 of them were wise, 5 of them were foolish. Those who were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. But while the bridegroom was delayed, they all slumbered and slept. Listen to me. The issue is we're doing what every other person in the body of Christ is doing. We're doing what everybody else in the body of Christ is doing. We're like, well, if they're going to watch Netflix, I'm going to watch Netflix too. Well, if my pastor's going to just chill out, I'm going to chill out too. Well, if this Christian is doing this, I'm going to do this too. But you don't know what they've been preparing. So you're sleeping and they're sleeping are not the same sleep. And this is why I'm telling everybody, December is the month of preparation for the new season. Don't sleep just because you see somebody else in the body of Christ sleeping, because you don't know what they've been preparing whilst you are watching TV. Because they're watching TV, you don't know what they've been preparing to get them ready for the year they're stepping into. So your sleep is not the same as their sleep. Their sleep is a prepared sleep. Their sleep happens after a certain set of conditions have been met. First condition is this, and I've said this, they chose their company. You see, your friendships should not be broken into, these are my black friends, these are my white friends, these are my cool friends, these are my book club friends, these are my best friends. Listen, your friendship should be broken into 2 dichotomies. Number 1, wise. Number 2, really stupid friends, right? Wise friends and foolish friends. Those are the 2 people friendship should be broken into. In fact, the word there is morose, which is where we get the word moron. So you got to get some wise friends, but you also got to recognize the moronic friends that you have been associating with for a very long time. What if you can do this for me? And I know I'm going to give you homework. Get a piece of paper and get your phone book out. That phone book that has 1,000 friends on it, 500 friends on it, 200 friends on it. And write on that piece of paper, how many of your friends are wiser than you? Just pick. You will be shocked that you can't even find 5 friends on your phone book who are wiser than you. You will be stunned. Family don't count. You will be stunned that you cannot find 5 people on your phone book that you are deliberately deciding to follow that are wiser than you. And I'll tell you why. Because it is human nature to call friends people who are equal or lower than us. It is human nature because it makes us feel comfortable with our maintenance of life. If you're going to shift out of maintenance and into success, you're going to have to put at the top priority of your life 5 people wiser than you. And the reason we don't like 5 people wiser than us is because they make us feel uncomfortable with our mediocrity. They make us feel uncomfortable with our maintenance. It is hard work associating with people wiser than you because it forces your intelligence to come up. It forces your communication style to come up. It forces you to buy a dictionary just so you can understand them. Come on now. It forces you to come into a new bracket of learning. It forces you to have to watch different things other than Friends and Will and Grace. It forces you to have to pick up on a level of intellect that you're not comfortable with. And so you would rather associate with people who your wink communicates to them, who your stare communicates to them, who your colloquialisms communicate to them, because as human beings, we don't like being uncomfortable. But if you're going to succeed in 2023, comfort and success, you're going to have to choose which one you want. Because God will never reach you in the place of your comfort. That means if you are one of those people, God's promised me wealth, but all of your friends are equal to you or lower than you in socioeconomic status, then you're going to have to reprioritize. Deliberately reprioritize some of your friendships and just sit around people who are wiser than you, who make you feel real stupid. People who make you feel dumb. Can I tell you something? You'll only know you're wise when you're around people who make you feel stupid. If you're around people who make you feel competent, you're comfortable. If you're around people who make you feel competent, you're not growing. If you're around people who make you feel successful, you're not growing. So you're going to have to deliberately choose to divinely decide of your own volition to dispossess yourself of your own comfort, to associate your life with people whose prayer life may be better than yours, whose ability to study scripture may be far and beyond your own, whose prophetic grace may outpace your own, whose financial resources may outdo your own, whose favor in life and their dimension may be better than your own dimension. And you see, those cultures cause our communication style to change. You know, they've done this study, lower class, middle class, upper class people, and they've studied them succinctly, and they've discovered that the difference between lower class and upper class people is even in humor. Lower class people tend to discuss things, make jokes that are more dirty, crude, dirty jokes. Upper class people tend to focus more on faux pas, what we call faux pas, than actual real comedy. So if you're with kind of the lower class person, they'll find a way to make a dirty joke that makes everybody laugh. Ha ha, that's really funny. Dirty joke is so clear, it's so obviously funny. But when you're among the upper class people, you'll start hearing them say things like, oh, you know, I was invited to a party the other day, and it was a Halloween party, and you wouldn't believe my luck that I came dressed in normal clothing, you know, and everybody laughs, and it's like, that's not really funny. But you understand there's kind of a faux pas. It's like a false statement. It's something that they find funny in that class group and bracket of people. Now imagine somebody coming up to that bracket of people hearing that joke. They'll be like, yeah, where's Kevin Hart when I need him? Where's the kind of jokes I'm comfortable with when I need those kind of jokes, right? But you'll never grow unless you're willing to be uncomfortable. You'll never grow unless you're willing to be uncomfortable, unless you're willing to shift, because part of our friends is our class system. It's our socio-economic system. It's our language system. And you'll never shift unless you're willing to learn a different language. You'll never shift unless you're willing to learn a different language. And I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but let's go on. They sleep different sleeps. Why do they sleep different sleep? Because although they're all virgins, yes, Although they all have friends, yes. Although they all have lamps, yes. The foolish have no oil. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. But while the bridegroom was delayed, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight cried, Behold, the bridegroom comes. Come out to meet him. Then all the virgins rose, trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out. Can I tell you how to know your foolish friends? They're always asking you for help. They're always asking you to spend your precious oil on them. And this is where the empath comes back again. Can I tell you, the empath in you will spend your life, will give your possessions, will give yourself. The empath in you will look at them and go, okay, live your life through me. Come on, homogeneously, come on, live symbiotically through me. Parasite yourself to me. And then at the end, you'll end up with a martyr mentality. Oh, everybody's always taking from me. My kids are taking from me. My husband is taking from me. My boss demands extra hours from me. Everybody needs me. But you are your own Superman. You have set yourself up for failure by teaching people that you'll never say no. You'll always say yes. Yes, people are going to fail in this next season. And so if your struggle is confrontation, you're going to have to get used to being confrontational. You're going to have to get used to looking at your mother-in-law in the eye and saying, I love you, but not this weekend. You're going to have to get used to looking your parents in the eye and saying, I really honor you, mom and dad, but not this weekend. You're going to have to get used to looking at your boss in the eye and saying, I'm sorry, sir, I have to be home at 5. I've got kids. Are you following what I'm saying? You're going to have to get used to the understanding of this word no. Verse 9, but the wise answered saying, no. No is a full sentence. The wise answered saying, no, lest there should not be enough for us and you, but rather go to those who sell and buy for yourself. The best thing you can do for your foolish friends is teach them how to buy what you've bought. The best thing you can do for your foolish friends is teach them how to step into what you stepped into. You see, can I tell you something? Some of you loan your foolish friends money. Some of you loan your foolish friends money. Thanks for those of you who are supporting, by the way. I appreciate your financial support. Thank you. 15 of you. Thank you so much. There are those of you who you look at your foolish friends and you give them loans and you're still calling them today demanding your money back. That highlights their foolishness and your foolishness. Never give to anybody that which you're not willing to walk away from. Never give to anybody that which you're not willing to walk away from if they're not able to pay it back. It highlights massive levels of stupidity if you loan somebody money and to this day you say, can I get my money back? When can I get my money? When can I get my money back? When can I get my money? Forgive the debt. Forgive the debt. Hey, bro. Forgive the debt. Forgive the debtors. Forgive the people that owe you. But look what he says. He says, watch. He says, but the wise answer saying, no, lest we should not have enough for us and you, but go rather and to those who sell and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went into the wedding, and the door was shut. Afterward, the other virgins came also, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered, assuredly, I say, I don't know you. Watch therefore, for you know not the day nor the hour in which the Son of Man is coming. The most dangerous thing you can do, folks, listen to me, is say, you know, why does God need me when he has Prophet Tomi? Oh, what a lie from the pit of hell. What a lie from the pit of hell. Why does God need me to pray when he has my pastor? Why does God need me to lead when he has this person who's always interceding? What does God want with my prayer? Let me just sleep. And you'll sleep and they'll be raptured and you'll be left behind. And you'll wonder, why am I left behind? I don't understand why I'm still here. And the reason you're still where you are is simply this. You didn't spend time learning how to buy your own oil. You lived your whole life borrowing somebody else's faith, borrowing somebody else's Christianity, borrowing somebody else's prophetic anointing, borrowing somebody else's pastoral grace. Wow, 20 supporters, thank you so much. Borrowing somebody else's gift of healing, borrowing money from all your friends, borrowing. There's nothing wrong with borrowing. I'm going to show you the power of it in a minute, actually. But you gotta borrow till you don't borrow anymore. But you got to live a life that you gotta buy your own oil. Every one of us has got to be responsible to work out our own salvation with great fear and great trembling. So let me move on. I've only got 15 minutes left to say this. And by the way, I'm going to post all these videos from now on straight to YouTube. I encourage you to listen over and over again to this, because I want you to be prophetically prepared for 2023. December is so crucial to that, folks. All you just watching Christmas movies, forget that nonsense. All you in commercial, who am I going to buy a gift for? Forget that nonsense. I'm encouraging all of you right now, buy your own oil. Use this month of December to prepare. I'm getting my ducks in a row. I'm getting my house in order. Why? When 2023 starts, I'm going to be sleeping. Some of you are going to be working. I'm going to be sleeping. Why? Because December, I'm preparing for the year ahead. And for those of you who are on here now, guess what you're doing? You're getting ready for the year ahead. Buy your oil in 2022, December, so that by 2023, you can be coasting, and people may sleep next to you. You might want to wake them up and say, hey, don't sleep like I'm sleeping. I listened to Apostle Tomi in 2022 say, buy your own oil. Please don't sleep like I'm sleeping. Don't mistake my sleep for comfort. I've done my work. Now it's time for you to work too. Oh my gosh, my son just came in. All right. So get your affairs in order. Now, here's a next to final thing I'm going to say. You got to be willing to partner with the prophetic in this season. You got to be willing to partner with prophetic instruction. Thank you. Oh, he keeps leaving the door open. God bless his heart. You got to be willing in 2023 to partner with prophetic instruction. Very important. Partner with prophetic instruction. 2023 is going to be the year to build Goshen. Goshen. 7 years left. I really believe in 7 years we're going to come into an unusual, unprecedented captivity. 2030, unusual, unprecedented captivity. And there are those that are going to live outside of the captivity, and there are those that are going to live inside of the captivity. And the difference is, do you trust the prophets? Do you trust the prophets? If you trust the prophets, you're going to prosper. So here is how that's going to happen. 2 Kings chapter 4, a certain woman of the wives of the sons of the prophets cried out to Elisha, saying, your servant, my husband, is dead. And you know that your servant feared the Lord, and the creditor is coming to take my 2 sons to be his slaves. Now listen, those of you who are in debt, I'm not one of those prophets who say, if you sow this seed in the next 7 days, I'm not there. I don't know if I have that in me. But I do have this prophetic instruction for you. I believe you should be giving anyway, but let me move to this straightforward prophetic instruction. Because the creditors were coming to take her 2 sons to be slaves as well. And can I tell you something? By 2030, if you don't pay your debts, by 2030, your children are going to be slaves as well. Now, what do I mean? America is in trillions of dollars of debt. You may think, well, our kids can't be slaves to pay debts anymore. Well, listen, you're not looking at what's happening. There are debts that your children are going to have to pay, national debts. There are debts that you don't want to die with, and your kids to have to pick up those debts. So here is how we deliberately move out of this place. You must be out of debt before 2030. You must be out of debt. Listen to me. You must be out of debt before 2030. Those of you in $5,000 of debt, $10,000 of debt, $20,000 of debt, credit card debts to your eyelids, be determined by 2030 you are going to get out of debt. Now let me give you another vision. Don't be determined to be debt-free. Be determined to get out of debt. Because debt-free is still broke. And if you are net zero, it is far too easy to go into negative again. So be determined. If your finances right now are averaging 2,000 to 3,000 a month, you're going to have to listen to this message right now, because there is a class that's going to get swept in to the next big crisis that's coming. There's a generation that's going to get swept in. I only got about 10 more minutes to say this. That's going to get swept away in this next big crisis. So if your mean average annual income is $20,000 to $40,000, there's a sweeping that's coming in this next season that's going to sweep you into paying the debts. If your average is $50,000, there is a crisis that's coming that's going to sweep you into paying off the debt. If you are in a 50,000 annual income bracket, you are in danger. If you are between $20,000 to $50,000 in your income bracket, you are in grave danger. And I'll tell you why. Because you are within a taxable bracket, and it will always be upon the working and middle class to pay the debts of nations. Nowhere in history has that debt ever been exacted upon the proletariat. It has always been, nowhere has it ever been exacted upon the bourgeois, the upper class. It has always been exacted upon the poor and the middle class. Every time a recession has happened, the rich have not suffered. It has been the poor and the middle, the working and middle. And so you're going to want to get yourself out of the middle. You are the middle child. Get out of the middle. And listen, even the poor is safer than you in the middle, because the middle is where the largest lump is exacted from. Middle are like cows that are harvested to pay the debts of nations. So some people prefer poor because if I live beneath the tax limit, I'm okay. That's no way to live either. You're not going to want to live in that bracket. Neither are you going to want to live in the bracket of the rich where you have so much money, because too much money is also a problem. You're going to want to live within the realm of being asset rich. Asset rich. Not an asset rich is not money. Asset rich is not a house. A house is not an asset even if you own it. A house is only an asset when you're renting it. A car is not an asset. Don't let the bank lie to you. You have 3 assets, 3 cars. They're not assets, they're liabilities. The moment you drive them, the mileage goes up, they become a liability. So you're going to have to determine that you're going to be asset rich. That means that things that you own are making money for you. Yes, I know we're talking about land. Even that, sometimes if we don't have it right, can be a liability. But moving into that is very important as well. I really believe that we're going to start, Christians, we're going to start as prophets teaching believers how to own land, houses, territory. But you're going to have to write on a piece of paper assets and liabilities. I don't mean to put your kids here, but kids are a liability because they're consumers. They're assets in waiting, believe me. But there are I'm not going to be a financial manager here and tell you what assets But you're going to have to figure out what things are reproducing finances for me. I'm going to give you very simple examples. See, I know everybody's talking about crypto. I believe the crypto market's going to shake. It's going to shake so violently that people are going to be like, what's happened? But I think there's some people who, if they're wise and hear the Holy Spirit say, move out, they'll move out. But let me tell you some things that are really going to help you in the structures we're coming into. You're going to want to own your house, not mortgage it. So you're going to want to build yourself into a place. And I'm not saying that you're not going to want tenants and to rent them out to people, but as you begin to see inflation and as you begin to see all those things happening, people are going to start raising the property rent prices. Some of you, the property rent prices are raising. It's a clue to you that something is happening. Property values are going up. Mortgage repayments are going up. So rent prices are going up. And if rent prices go up, they will move the poor, the middle working class out of the houses. And before you know it, the middle working class who feed the property market, by the way, who are marginalized, can't afford the housing anymore. And what's going to happen? You're going to have another kind of fall where property begins to collapse on itself. So you're going to want to not, so those of you who have mortgages, you don't own your house. You have a business partner. The bank is the business partner that part owns your home. Thank God that you have the house, and we have mortgages, don't get me wrong. But you're going to want to work yourself out of mortgage. You're going to want to work yourself out of that because every time they raise that interest rate, there's a wealth transfer from you to them. And so you're going to have to think about things that reproduce very quickly. Some of you have YouTube channels. Your YouTube channel, you're going to have to find, your YouTube channel can create residual income for you. Therefore, if it can create residual income for you, it's called an asset because it reproduces for you by itself. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I'm giving you the simplest form of what I would call an asset. An asset is something that left to its own devices is making money for you. A liability is something that left to its own devices is leaking money from you. An asset is not a store of value. An asset is not a store of value. An asset is a store of increasing value in increments. Even if that increment is $5, that is still an asset. Even if the increment is $2, that is still an asset. Anything that you purchase low, as long as it is an increment above the buying price, it is an asset. If it is an increment below the buying price, it is still it is not a liability, but it's still paying into a liability, which is debt. Debt is a liability. So you're going to want to build prophetically that place that produces asset for you. Now, let me give you a divine instruction, then I have to go because my spiritual daughter is waiting for me and I want to make sure I respect her time. A certain woman of the wives of the sons of the prophet cried out to Elijah saying, my husband is dead. You know that he feared the Lord, and the creditor is coming to take my 2 sons as slaves. So Elisha said to her, what shall I do for you? Tell me, what do you have in your house? Here it is. What do you have in your house? Some of you are thinking Goshen is going to be some big, far away thing that you're going to have to look far and wide for to invest in that thing and to see something reproduced out of that thing. Your Goshen is in your house. There is something that you're doing that God has you doing impulsively. There's something that God has you do impulsively in a place of obedience that is going to be the birthing of a Goshen to you. What do you have in your house? And she said, your maidservant has nothing. Here it is. Whatever that thing is you call nothing, that is your Goshen. Whatever that thing is in your house that you have called nothing, that thing that you've said your servant's got nothing, Your servant has nothing. Whatever it is in your house that God has placed within your reach, that thing, if you will give your attention to it and obey the prophetic instructions that I'm going to ask you to obey, you are going to find your Goshen. First instruction, your Goshen is in your house. Your Goshen is in your house. The thing that you call nothing is getting ready to speak for you in 2023. The thing that you call nothing, the thing that you just called a book that's been taking me years to write, that thing you call nothing, when a prophetic word is spoken over that nothing, God is going to turn that nothing into something. Your Goshen, the thing that is going to break free, break through for you and your family, is within your present reach right now. The very thing you despise is your Goshen. For who has despised the day of small beginning? For the eyes of the Lord rejoice to see the work begin, the plumb line in the hand of Zerubbabel. What is your Goshen? Your Goshen is in your house. Your Goshen, number 2, is the thing you call nothing. Number 3, when you find your Goshen, you qualify for the borrower's market. Did you hear what I just said? When you find your Goshen, you qualify for the borrower's market. Stop borrowing to buy a liability. Stop borrowing to buy the latest insignia. You can't afford it. Stop borrowing to buy a Tesla. It's a liability. It's not an asset. Borrow once you've found your Goshen. Borrow once you've found it. Once you've identified the thing that for years you called nothing. That's when it's time to qualify for the borrower's market. Borrow. Enter into the borrowing field only when you found the asset in your house. Write it down. Only when you find the asset. I'm giving you an instruction. Don't do this later. Do it today. Right now, what is the Goshen in my house that God has been speaking to me about all along, but I've ignored it? What is the Goshen within my reach that God has been telling me to do all along, but I've been so busy focused on the bigger picture that my analysis has led to my paralysis? What is the very thing that God has told me to get in order and start building instrumentally across your year? Borrow vessels. Borrow vessels. Borrow vessels. Start entering into the borrower's market once you've found your Goshen, number 1, and once you've proven your Goshen is an asset. Once you've proven this Goshen to be the asset. When I say it's the asset, how do you know the asset? People have bought it. People have invested in it. May have been just one person. May have been just 2 people. May have been just 3 people. 3 people is better than 0 people. If what you're doing, you're the only investor, you're the only buyer, then it's not an asset, it's a hobby. Hello, somebody. But if you found 5 people, those 5 people represent a cohort of people just like them who are interested in what you do. The problem is you have no exposure for what you're doing. Are you seeing what I'm saying? And he said to her, there's not another vessel left. So the oil ceased. Then she came and told the man of God. And he said, go sell the oil, pay your debt, and you and your sons live on the rest. So this year, this month, get your house in order. Get your assets in check. Register your music company. Register your bank account for your book sales. Begin to incrementally decide that if you're going to write a 300-page book, that's 10 pages among 30 days. Every day without fail. Wake up 7 a.m. in the morning when nobody's awake and write your first 10 pages that morning. Don't leave your computer until you've written your first 10 pages. Then go to sleep. Tomorrow, wake up, write another 10 pages, then go to sleep. Next day, write another 10 pages, then go to sleep. If you miss the 10 pages that day, then write 20 pages tomorrow, then go to sleep. Don't sleep until you've made a plan. Get your house in order. Strategize everything succinctly. If it's 300-page book, 30 days in a month, that's 10 pages a day. Within 30 days, I finish the book. Simple. If it's a fashion project, be determined that you're going to strategically plan. I'm not going to make all kinds of fashion. I'm going to focus just on 2 to 3 clothing lines with clear messaging in each one that's not tailored to me, but tailored towards my market. Plan even just 2. Don't do more than 3. Don't confuse yourself with all of your great ideas. Limit yourself to a clear focus. If you can only do 1 clothing line, even better. But find the clothing line, find the messaging, find the branding, find everything, and fix your eyes on your Goshen. It's the thing within your house that's going to make room for you this next year. It's the thing within your house that's going to open up and make doors available to you. But you've got to determine that you're going to be focused. God bless you. This message will be uploaded in its entirety to YouTube. I encourage you to get it. This one's going to be free to access, but later on in this evening, there's going to be a student one uploaded for those who are mentoring on the prophetic. I want you to access it. Every one of you, visit the link in my bio and register for 2023 Rig School. Spaces are filling up quickly, by the way. It's only a deposit, I think, of $50 to secure your seat, and the instructions for the rest of the school fees are there. But I'm going to want to encourage all of you to step into a prophetic dimension, a prophetic place. If you like to sow, donate towards Tomi Arayomi Ministries, or become a partner of Rig Nation in its entirety, please feel free to visit any of the links and go as you're led by the Spirit of God. But I want to encourage you, most importantly, become a member of my YouTube channel and receive access to more in-depth things. There's a great few courses that are coming up this year that's going to teach you how to step into your Goshen. I'm going to be specifically setting up those courses, short courses, for those who want to step into Goshen more specifically. But I hope you've been blessed. I hope you head over to YouTube later to check this out. God bless you all. Take care.